Hello everyone. The blockchain technology is specified in 2008 white paper is a combinational technology of cryptography, distributed computing, and privacy to reshape the financial platforms. However, it requires a lot of effort to bring this idea to reality. Fortunately, a noticeable number of individuals believed in this idea and devoted themselves to open source and create the blockchain technology. The next pending task was to bring the network to life. It required many early pioneers and a huge effort to make this possible. In this session, let's talk about compelling components, achieving consensus, early vulnerability, and much more. Let's start with compelling components. Open source software refers to a software that is not particularly owned by any individual entity. Any developer is allowed to examine the source code of the software, modify or use them for free according to their needs. In order to be an open source project, Bitcoin has three unique components that attract the developers in a unique way. First is value, a unit to account the tokens in a transaction. In a Bitcoin blockchain, the unit is BTC. In Ethereum, the value is measured in terms of ethers, or also called ETH. Second is distribution. The Bitcoin network follows a distributed infrastructure with nodes around the world in order to maintain the record for the transactions made. Third is consensus. The proof of work consensus uses validators called miners. The miners are responsible for maintaining the security and stability of maintaining the transactions record. These three unique qualities of a cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, appealed to a small band of determined software developers who were fixated on creating a resilient, safe, and secure storage model of the vast internet. Even though with some flaws, Bitcoin is considered to be leaps and bounds beyond the previous attempts made for establishing a fully distributed and digital model for storing the value. Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of the Bitcoin blockchain, launched the network by creating the first block of a Bitcoin blockchain by mining 50 Bitcoin on January 3, 2009. He used the processing power to make transactions to validate, verify, and create the first block of a chain called Genesis block. He left a note in the Genesis block referring that the Bitcoin is designed in order to reshape the financial institutions. Bitcoin is basically a distributed network around the world, which means it requires people to act as miners for the system to validate and verify the transactions. For this purpose, Satoshi designed a client application which can be downloaded and run in order to run nodes and mine Bitcoin blocks. The message that Satoshi wrote in his post while publishing the software is, if you can keep a node running that accepts income connections, you'll really be helping the network a lot. The post was titled as Bitcoin v0.1 release P2P eCash. A block is a living and constantly updating documents of a distributed ledger. More and more transactions are appended to the block as the time passes. In decentralized payment systems like PayPal, we trust that central authority will update the transactions. But in the decentralized network like Bitcoin, there is no central authority, which means thousands of miners are powering the network to update the ledger. Still, a question remains: who do we trust as these miners? Gaining the trust to know the transaction in the network. In other words, to generate a new block is called achieving consensus. It is a process that miners follow for powering up the network that is used for the following purposes. Block discovery, the agreement of the miners on which one of them will be selected to generate a new block of transactions. Validation of transactions. Miners validate, verify, and approve the new transactions that will be used to generate a new block on the chain. Many of the blockchain technologies available today right now follow one of the following two approaches for the purpose of achieving consensus: proof of work and proof of stake. The accounting type of Bitcoin is uniquely designed for saving transactions. It is called unspent transaction output, or UTXO, which is basically a set of inputs and outputs. Each transaction has an input that identifies a Bitcoin address, which is the fund source, then an unspent transaction, which has a Bitcoin that received value in the past. We will discuss UTXO in the upcoming modules. As working with a new protocol, Bitcoin also had its share of troubles in the early stages. It wasn't easy to work with a Bitcoin client, so not many people preferred to download it. Some of the early stage participants of Bitcoin were the people who already shared a proposal with a similar concept as Bitcoin. Wei Dai, who proposed the B-money. Nick Szabo, the founder of the Bitcoin concept, led to a significant amount of the development on securing the transactions. A Bitcoin advocate, Hal Finney, who received the first transaction from Satoshi Nakamoto, also shared his contribution in securing the Bitcoin network. Within 2 years of existence, a major flaw in the Bitcoin network was detected. On August 2010, a member of a Bitcoin community noticed a strange transaction with a huge amount of Bitcoins and posted it online as a value out in the block number 74638 is quite strange. Also, developer Jeff Gesrick wrote about it as someone has attempted to create huge amount of bitcoins out of thin air. The vulnerability was eventually resolved and Bitcoin was forked to split off the chain. The fork was made so as not to disrupt the main chain and avoid erroneous transactions. Even today, the vulnerability discovered in 2010 remains as the largest security flaw found in Bitcoin's history and remains as testament to the growth of the cryptocurrencies community. There were many incidents that happened throughout Bitcoin history that increased people's interest to adopt Bitcoin in daily life, which eventually increased the cryptocurrency investment. This not only increased cryptocurrency users but also blockchain technology users as well. The unknown identity of Satoshi has also helped in making Bitcoin a fully decentralized entity. Unlike Ethereum and other blockchains, the developers don't mimic the directions of the creators and provision leaders. The developers are habituated to their unique way, ultimately making it decentralized. It was not coincidental that the time Satoshi disappeared, Bitcoin was growing in popularity and the community was also steadily increasing. The successor of Satoshi, Gavin Anderson, a popular computer scientist, created an event called Bitcoin Faucet and gave away small amounts of Bitcoins to the people in the hope of increasing its usage. Anderson became the chief scientist of the now defunct Bitcoin Foundation after his presentation at the CIA about Bitcoin, and the organization was ever since devoted to the sake of cryptocurrency. On May 22, 2010, Laszlo, a programmer, was credited with having the first Bitcoin transaction for a good service. He paid 10,000 Bitcoins, which cost around 25 in that time, as payment for 2 pizzas he bought. After that incident, the community celebrated that day as Bitcoin Pizza Day. In July 2010, a platform named MadGox was created by Jet McCullough to host an exchanging event called Magic the Gathering. In the event, people exchanged their Bitcoins for cash. The concept of exchanging Bitcoins took an instant hit and started gaining popularity, fueling speculation and increasing the subsequent price appreciation of Bitcoin. That's all for this session. Thank you.